Digital control points are what many digital champions use to control markets and make profits. Let's first consider traditional control points. Well, we had disparate industry-specific control points like intellectual property, distribution networks, expertise, or production capacity. What do we mean with these control points? Well, first let's consider what a control point is. Think about ancient times when there were knights and they had castles on high hills and they were controlling trade routes passing by their castles. Well, they had control points because they had strong positions for building their castles and by that could control the route. Or think about a passage in a river which you could control for controlling trade, for controlling who passes by and so on. These are ancient control points. More recent control points are what I just described to you, intellectual property, distribution networks, and so on. So if you think about insurance industry, then traditional insurance industry was marked by the need for distribution network, for having the local insurance agents in every neighborhood, for people to go there and sign their contracts. Or production capacity. You see this, for example, in pharma industry, if you think about vaccines, that production capacity is a restricted asset, and having production capacity allows you to control markets. Or think about intellectual properties, patents which you might have to secure your intellectual property so your competitors can't mimic your products and services. Now these are traditional control points. This changed in times of digitalization. What are the digital control points which we see nowadays? Well, now in the digital economy we see three different control points. Having users or clients, having data and doing analytics on that, and having a platform and an ecosystem. And on the next slide, I'll show you how these three interact with each other. Well, many companies offer services, cost-free services. Think about an online social network free of charge, online search free of charge. What happens if you offer a great service free of charge? Well, you'll likely get many users, many clients. And these users, these clients, bring along data, and you can use this data for analysis. With the search engine, for example, you see which of the links which you provide the search results users click on, how long they stay on that page, what keywords they are looking for. With online social networks, you see which stories, which news they react on, with whom they connect and the like. And you can use this data and this analysis to further invest in the user experience, in the customer experience. And thereby you get a better cost-free service. With that you get further users, you get further data, you can again do the analysis, you can improve your customer experience and invest in an even better cost-free service. So you have a self-reinforcing cycle there. Unluckily, a self-reinforcing money-burning cycle. Nevertheless, many companies started like this. Consider social networks, as I mentioned before, Facebook, online search, Google. But you can also apply this model in parts to Apple, Amazon, N26, Firefox, and others. But they don't only do this cycle, they also have a platform and an ecosystem, and thereby further improve the data they have and the analytics they can do. And, for example, via third-party apps, they improve the user experience, the customer experience. This makes an even better service, so you have an even stronger self-reinforcing cycle if you don't stop at the data, but extend it to platform and ecosystem. Now, I said this is a money-burning cycle. Yes, it is, but obviously you can add a perspective to it, which is here the monetization, the B2B, business-to-business monetization typically, for not having it only as a money-burning cycle, but as a very profitable business model to operate this. B2B monetization means that, for example, that you sell advertising on your social network, in your search results or the like. And because you have the very good, highly user-friendly, very great user experience, cost-free digital service, you still get many users, but then in between the news, in between the search results and so on, you can insert advertisement and other companies pay you for that. With that, your users basically become the product you're selling to others, but they stay your users because you have this great, for them apparently cost-free service. And with that, I'm at the point of explaining why the cost-free is in parentheses. Because with these examples I'm always referring to, well, they're free in terms of you don't pay a usage fee in money, but still you pay with your data, with your attention. You become the product of these companies, which they can monetize. And that's why you might not consider as fully cost-free. The costs are only not in monetary terms. Well, now we have this self-reinforcing cycle, the lower part of the picture, and we have the monetization. We earn money with it. So this makes for very strong business models. This is why many admire the companies whose logos you see at the bottom of this page and try to emulate them in building up such strong business models based on these 3 digital control points, having users, having data, and having a platform and an ecosystem. And once you have that, and Google is definitely a good example for that, you can start spreading out in different areas. So far I referred to Google as an online search engine. Well, that's where they started, but that's definitely not where they are today. You see it here, they started with search, but they are also in payments, they have smart cars, they are in robotics, they are in health, they are in the smart home, they are in the streaming industry, smart cities, and so on. So once you have these strong, self-reinforcing, well-controlled ecosystems, data and analytics and user base, you can start leveraging that for spreading in other industries. That's why many people talk about blurring industry boundaries, because these ecosystems spread across traditional industry boundaries. And I motivated this from a business to consumer context. Basically the same with a little time lag applies in the business to business context. Mindsphere is an offering of Siemens. Well, you could call it, very simplified, the operating system of Industry 4.0. At least that's what some people at Siemens would like to call it. Not everybody accepts it as the operating system of Industry 4.0 yet. But what they would like to have with this is that Mindsphere is applied in very many different domains. In the digital factory, in energy management, in smart cities, in wind power, in mobility and so on, in healthcare. And everywhere this one operating system, this one fabric of digital products and services is used. And what does this fabric look like? Well, you see it a little with the image on the lower right-hand side, which we got from Siemens. It's based on existing hardware. So this is about Industry 4.0. It's about the industrial IoT, or the IoT, Internet of Things in general, where you have hardware which might be provided by Siemens, but which might also be third-party elements. And on top of this hardware, you have apps. You have obviously an operating system running there, and then apps running on the operating system. And this might be apps from Siemens, but it might as well be third-party apps. And then you have the application creators who provide these and combine the different apps. So basically, this model is somewhat comparable to things like Android for smartphones or iOS for smartphones with underlying iPhones and tablets and so on. And Siemens is not the only company trying to establish such an ecosystem of digital products, digital services on top of industrial hardware. But there are others out there, ABB, Rockwell, General Electric, Fanuc, and so on. They don't provide exact copies of this. Everybody has their own touch, their own style to that. But basically, these different companies try to compete around getting customers, trying to increase their ecosystem. And remember what we had before with the control points. If you have a cost-free service, then you get the users, then you get data analytics. Can we invest in the customer and user experience? With industrial customers, we don't talk only about the experience in an effective sense, but the value these customers can get from your service. You build up the platform and ecosystem, you open it up for third-party providers. That's what we see with Mindsphere as well. And then you add the monetization part, and with that get a very strong market position if you have every three control points. And obviously different companies are competing around these control points, and we'll need to wait a few years to see who really succeeds. Probably it will not be only one company, even in the industrial part, but a handful of companies, but very likely it will be less than are underway today.